My father threw me out at 11 years old. 20 years later, I stood at his funeral expecting closure. Instead, I discovered a secret so horrifying it made me question everything I thought I knew about my life, my pain, and the man I had hated for 2 decades. What I learned that day didn't just change my past. It changed the meaning of every painful memory I had carried for 20 years. My name is Elena, and this is the story of the slammed door that shattered my childhood and the devastating truth that almost destroyed me as an adult. It was a cold, rainy afternoon. I was just 11, clutching a small plastic bag with 2 pairs of socks, a half-eaten chocolate bar, and the only photo I had left of my mother. The sky was pouring as if it was crying for me. I stood on the porch, soaked to the bone, banging on the door with my tiny fists until my knuckles bled. From the other side, I heard my father's cold voice. "You're not my daughter anymore. Don't ever come back." Then the door slammed shut. For years, I hated the rain. It reminded me only of abandonment, the little girl crying in the rain, unwanted by the one person she trusted most in the world. I didn't understand why. I just knew I was disposable. After Mom died of cancer, when I was 6, it had always been just the 2 of us. He wasn't affectionate, but he was my dad. That morning he had been angry and distant. By evening, I was gone. No explanation. No goodbye. Just the rain and that slammed door. Child Protective Services took me in. The next few years blurred between foster homes and nights on the streets. I ran away often, surviving however I could. The public library became my sanctuary. I studied with a fire no child should need. But I won't dwell on every dark night. That 11-year-old girl refused to stay broken. She fought her way forward. By 28, I had become a regional director at a respected marketing firm. I had my own beautiful apartment, loyal friends who became my chosen family, and a quiet strength others admired. Yet every time it rained, I still heard that door slam. Every time I saw a father and daughter together, the wound reopened. I told myself I was over it. Until the lawyer called about his funeral. I arrived at the funeral alone, standing at the back as rain misted softly over the cemetery. People gathered around the coffin, sharing stories of what a good man Richard Harlan had been: devoted husband, loving father, pillar of the community. Their words felt like knives. I was the daughter he had erased, the ghost no one mentioned. Conflicted emotions tore through me: anger, grief, and a hollow ache for the father I had lost long before. After the service at the law office, I sat surrounded by strangers, my father's second wife, and 2 half-siblings I had never met. They looked at me like I was a ghost. The lawyer handed me a sealed letter. My hands shook as I opened it. "Elena," it began, "if you're reading this, I'm gone. And you deserve the truth I was too weak to tell you while I was alive." He confessed my mother hadn't. I wasn't biologically his. When proof arrived, his heart broke, and in pain and rage he threw me out into the rain. But then came the lines that broke me open. "Every birthday I wrote you a letter." I never mailed a single one. I was too ashamed. Throwing you away was the greatest mistake of my life. I never stopped being your father. I just stopped being brave enough to act like one. He had been watching me the entire time. The lawyer slid across a thick, secret file. Inside were school photos, newspaper clippings of my achievements, copies of my report cards, even a photo of me receiving my diploma. He knew every foster home, every runaway night, every library study session. He knew when I bought my first apartment. He knew about my promotion. All those years I thought I was invisible. He had followed from a distance, too broken by shame to reach out. "There's something else," the lawyer said. "Your father attended your college graduation. He sat in the audience, watching you walk across the stage. Then he left before you could see him. The memory crashed over me. That day, I had felt someone watching me with such another betrayal layered on the rest. For the first time in 20 years, I cried like that 11-year-old girl again, deep, wrenching sobs that shook my entire body. The foundation of my hatred, the fuel that drove my success, had been built on lies. My mother's affair, my biological father's abandonment, and the only father I ever loved, silently suffering in the shadows. Revenge doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers the truth. Before confronting my biological father, the pain nearly consumed me, but I refused to let their secrets define me. We met at a quiet cafe. He looked polished, wealthy, uncomfortable. He slid a thick envelope across the table. "I'm sorry," he said. "This is child support plus interest. I thought about reaching out many times." "No," I interrupted, my voice steady but burning. "You thought about protecting yourself. You weren't absent because you couldn't find me. You were absent because it was easier. You ignored every plea, deleted every email, and enjoyed your comfortable life while I slept in my car and ate once every 2 days. Where was this money when that door slammed and I stood crying in the rain? You chose silence. You don't get to buy peace now." He stared at the table. I continued. "Abandonment broke my heart. Truth shattered it. Blood made you my father. Choices made you a stranger. The people who break you don't get to decide who you become." I pushed the envelope back and walked away. That refusal was my revenge. Later, my half-sister reached out. In a quiet meeting, she handed me an old photograph of me as a child that Dad had kept beside his bed for years. "He looked at it every night," she whispered. For the first time, I saw him as human, flawed, broken, regretful. I visited his grave alone on a rainy afternoon. The same rain that fell the day he threw me out. I placed white flowers down and whispered, "I forgive you. Not because you deserved it, but because I refuse to carry your shame." Today, I run a foundation for abandoned children and those aging out of the system. We provide education, housing, and real listening ears. The first girl we helped was 11 years old, the exact age I was when my father threw me out. When she hugged me and said, "Thank you for not slamming the door," something inside me finally healed. For years, I hated the rain. It reminded me of abandonment. Now, it reminds me of survival and new beginnings. My father threw me out of his house. Life threw me into the fire. Neither one managed to destroy me. Some people leave your life. Others leave scars. Healing began the moment I stopped asking why. The door he slammed was supposed to end my story. Instead, it became the first chapter. Because sometimes the people who reject you aren't stopping your future. They're pushing you toward it. And that's the truth I carried out of the rain. If you've been betrayed by the people who were supposed to love you, hear this. Your story is not defined by their failures. The pain they caused does not get the final word. You are not what was done to you. You are what you choose to become after the door slams. Thank you for walking through the rain with me. Share this with someone who needs to know healing is possible. That revenge can be quiet, powerful, and full of grace. This is Elena. Choose truth. Choose healing. Choose your